Good afternoon. Thanks for the opportunity to be here. My name is Leo Irakiolis. I'm the Dean of the College of Information Technology at Western Governors University. And if you have a smartphone, you can just take a picture of the QR code, and that will be the link to my LinkedIn profile. I'm pretty active in those communities. I'm also a ham radio operator. If this is too modern for you, I can always be on Morse code at 20 and 30 meters, and it's very good here actually for propagation with the solar activity increasing. A few things about me and about my background. I am a physicist and computer engineer by training. I got my PhD in electrical and computer engineering at Colorado State University. I went the traditional route from kindergarten to PhD without a break, in the sense that I did the primary school and secondary school, university, grad school, and before I realized it, I was 26 years old and unemployed. I think the technical term is postdoc. So I went into the traditional academic route, professor, research, publish, perish. Eventually, I discovered I'm much better at education and being an administrator. I was offered the chairmanship of the Computer Science Department at the University of Chicago. I worked there for years. I worked for MCI before that, doing friends and family way before MCI became WorldCom, so I want to be very clear about that. I worked for MCI during the really good days of the company. It was a very innovative company, actually. I spent all the time down the road from here at our San Francisco office, because I was based in Chicago. I'm still based in Chicago. This is my second deanship. Before joining Western Governors, I was the Dean of Graduate School of Computer Information Sciences at Nova Southeastern University. South Florida didn't work so well for me. It was not right. Chicago is a tough town to move away from. So the good thing with Western Governors, as you know, we're an online university. Our workforce is scattered across 50 states. I'm one of those scattered spots across. What I'm here today really is for a number of reasons. I want to tell you a few things about our information technology programs at Western Governors, about how well, respectfully, and productively we work with community colleges, what makes our education model unique and very successful. I'm going to show you some numbers that hopefully you will appreciate, and also take the opportunity to step in and not too big of a soapbox and talk about our profession, and about our field, and about what are we doing as a community of the ICT educators at large. Because, and I'll be very upfront to give you the tone of my remarks, is that I think that we have failed the field. We have failed at reducing responsibility as educators. We have handed off education responsibility to software vendors. We dropped the ball big time, so we need to start talking about how we can bend over and pick the ball and see what we can do. I think that we can learn a lot from other professional disciplines as to what they do to maintain ownership of educating professionals in their field. So that's sort of my pet peeve as an administrator, that we can do, and we should do a better job with resuming ownership of what we do best. I'm part of an organization that has 4 colleges. I lead the College of Information Technology. I have about 6,000 students in the college pursuing undergraduate and graduate master's degrees. We have a teachers college, which is the first teachers college in the country, only exclusively online teachers college to receive NCATE accreditation, the College of Nursing, and the College of Business. And this is what Western Governors University is all about. There's 4 colleges. We don't have any plans to add new disciplines right now. We educate US-based students. We're not an international school. We're 100% online. We're not issuing visas. We were created by the governors of 19 states, 19 Western states that is, to provide workforce training for their constituencies. Now we're a national university at this point, but the university was born out of the frustration of these governors with their public state universities that were not responsive enough to workforce education needs. And it was a political issue, as you can imagine, but the fact that we got 19 governors together put resources and create a new kind of university, 1997, a university that will not be state, it will be public, private actually, not for profit, and online, a virtual university that will have no campus to maintain, therefore the overhead cost associated with campus maintenance is not part of our concern, and that will espouse a new model of delivering education. Our tuition is $5,780 a year, and most students complete their degrees within 2.5 years. So it's a value proposition. We currently have 30,000 students. We surpassed 30,000 students on December 5, 2011. And we operate across all 50 states and the 3 territories. We have regional campuses in Indiana, Texas, and Washington State. Our headquarters are in Salt Lake City. By regional campuses, what do I mean? Indiana, the governor of Indiana has designated WGU as a state school, meaning that Indiana residents can use state funds to pursue their education at WGU. Same for the state of Washington and same for the state of Texas. That's quite an accomplishment. And you're going to see in the next couple of years a few more state designations coming up. I think that we're working on Oregon right now. Don't quote me on that because I'm not sure. But our goal is about 1.5 state designations per year for the next few years. Recently, we got one heck of an endorsement. So you might have heard President Obama invited 10 college presidents to the White House in early December to discuss college affordability. We were one of them, and we were the college that the president used as an example of how to pursue affordable education. And this was a group of college presidents, including Carnegie Mellon, SUNY, California State System, and the president of the meeting room said, you know, if according to my president, Bob Mendenhall, if they can do it for $6,000 a year, so can you. And of course, you can imagine the discussions that ensued that. Here are a few anecdotal points. The administration is concerned that even though they increase the amount of financial aid awarded to students, the enrollment numbers remain the same. We don't have an increase in enrollments across the student population that receives financial aid. Why? Because every increase in financial aid is being absorbed by tuition increases. There is increasing frustration, at least in that little universe that is known as the Department of Education. There is increased frustration that colleges hire professors who do not teach or rely increasingly on non-professorial instructors, which is fine. Adjuncts are a wonderful resource and are wonderfully qualified people, but you know, if a student comes to elite school XYZ and pays $50,000 for their master's degree, and during that year or 2 years does not get to see, even walking down the hallway, a full professor, a full-time professor at university, what are you paying $50,000 for? Take that entire group of adjunct faculty, put it outside that university, you can offer the same content for 1/4 of the price. But of course, the brand name of snooty elite university and a diploma still counts a lot. So that's a challenge that we're facing, or at least the Department of Education is facing in terms of how to improve the efficiency of financial aid. So I think at $6,000 a year, we're doing fairly well. I put up this slide because this is our student population snapshot, I think in July 2011. That's when I moved from Nova Southeastern to Western Governors. So when I joined the university about 6 months ago, we were at about 26,000 students, and a few weeks ago we hit 30,000. So that's quite growth, and I wanted to show that in the 4 or 5 months that I've been there, I'm looking at a different university than what I joined 4 or 5 months ago. That's quite some growth. I think that our target for 2015 is 50,000 students. And when originally I heard that, I thought that someone is dreaming here, someone is drinking something, it's not sharing with the rest of us. But looking at the trend, I think the 50,000 student growth is quite likely. What do we do? I can quote our mission statement, our vision. You can easily find that online. The bottom line is that we have helped adult students complete post-secondary degrees. There are 37 million people in the U.S. alone that have some college preparation. Either they finished an associate's degree, or they start college and then life happened and they never finished. That's our target, that's our demographic. There's 37 million people across the U.S. that have some college education, and we can help them to finish. So we're not competing with the online operations of Harvard or MIT OpenCourseWare. This is not the audience that we are targeting. We're looking at working adults who have some post-secondary education and they're interested in completing their degrees. What makes our model interesting is that we're competency-based. So that you know the stuff or you don't know, but you don't have to spend 6 months or 3 months or 10 weeks in the classroom just sitting there in a chair or sitting in front of a computer watching lectures or whatnot. Our model is one where time of learning is no longer fixed. Traditional education, most colleges, even community colleges, time is fixed and they measure what you learn in that fixed time. Some of us learn faster, some of us learn slower. We make time variable, and when time becomes variable, everyone is a successful learner. So that's our approach. So we measure what students learn at the end of their course of study. We develop specific competencies that reflect the competencies that a professional is expected to have for a particular field of study. We work very closely with industry, with recruiters, with hiring managers, with a group of experts, and I'm going to get into that point in a few seconds. And we're very active in mentoring. We are watching students progress. If we feel that a student falls behind, someone will reach out. We have disaggregated the role of the faculty, a faculty member, a professor. And this is where things become interesting when I describe WGU. And feel free to interact with questions, because really this is meant more as an interactive session rather than me speaking from here and you listening or trying to digest a wonderful lunch. And it's also a learning opportunity for me to understand better how we can work closer with you. So we have separated the multiple roles that a professor, the faculty member plays. If you were to describe a profession, what does a professor do? Profess. What is he supposed to do? What he's supposed to do, or what he's actually doing? As a faculty member, what do you do? What are your tasks, your major tasks? Educate.
Convey information.
Convey information.
Inspire.
Encourage. Motivate. Grade. Still do some grading, I hope, right? It's not all Turnitin or multiple choice tests on Blackboard. So we do some grading. We do some evaluation. We do some advising. We do some mentoring. All these different roles that put together make a professor. Now, the problem is that when you aggregate this role in a single person, that model does not scale well. If you want to add another 1,000 students, you need another, let's say, 25 professors. 25 such professors are very expensive. If you want to treat them well, I mean, you can pay pittance, but that's not the model. So what we do instead is we think that how many people do we need to do mentoring for the extra 1,000 students? And we hire individuals who are good at mentoring, at providing advice, coaching, that are not necessarily subject matter experts in whatever course a student may be taking. So here's a student who's taking a database course, but the encouraging part, the motivating part, does not have to come from someone who has a PhD in databases. Actually, the last person you want to motivate your database student is someone who has a PhD in database. You want someone who understands life sciences, who understands that you may be running in a rough spot with finances, or at least a new baby in the house. You don't want some academic that has his head up in the cloud saying that, database is such a wonderful field. Why are you not abandoning your family and your career? Just study this topic, which is exactly what I did as a professor of database design at the University of Chicago. Several students came to me and told me that, I cannot continue my degree for the next 6 months because we're expecting a baby. And my answer was like, so? You don't want the typical professor to be the mentor. So we have specific roles for mentors, we have specific roles for evaluators and graders, and we have specific roles for subject matter experts, who are what most of us would recognize as professors. Yes, ma'am?
Can you talk a little bit about the mentoring process? Because there are a lot of different models. And when you talk about active mentoring, what do you mean by that?
There are two aspects in our mentoring. One is the student mentor, who is your best buddy, and has access to a wealth of analytics. And if you slow down your studies, or if you feel that you're checking out somehow, will reach out to you and basically will help you overcome problems or help you postpone your studies if you cannot overcome real-life situations. And those mentors are in very frequent contact with our students. And these are the people who encourage and take care of non-subject issues. Now, there are also the course mentors who are subject matter experts in whatever you may be studying. So if you're having a difficulty understanding, say, database normalization theory, these are the people that will reach out and say, okay, let's go over first normal course, go over the technical aspects of it. So these are the two groups of mentors. Most of our students end up interacting more often with their student mentors, which are the coaches and encouragers. I'm married to a psychotherapist, so I'm calling them the psychotherapists. And less often with the course mentors. Does this
Yeah. Do the students who are doing the active mentoring, do they have any kind of training at all in doing it, or? The employees who are active mentors are very trained. Okay. Usually they have a master's degree in education or in a related field. It's not students who are doing the mentoring. Okay. It's full-time employees of the university. Okay.
Yes,
you mentioned time is a
variable. Time is a variable.
Variable, yeah. And so, do you think? I don't understand how you make that. Are you thinking it's like time based, right? It's your courses have a beginning and an end.
Of course.
Okay, so how do you mean that?
The beginning and the end is self-paced. You start studying and you take the exam when you're ready. I mean, there is a maximum length of time. You cannot spend 20 years, but you take your assessment exam when you're ready, and you demonstrate your competency. And sometimes, because a lot of our students come with life or work experience and they already are familiar with the subject, they might say, let me challenge this exam. I think I know databases. Let me take a pre-assessment.
Okay.
And just drive the final exam. And since we believe that our exams reflect the competencies for that particular field of study, if the student passes the exam, the student passed that course. You're done. You're done in 1 week. We get to the past, and I'm still trying to adjust to the environment at WGU because I come from a very traditional academic background. But I really like the innovation that I see at WGU. But I've heard of students who finish their degrees in 4 months. Basically, these were individuals that had done substantial coursework in their past. Life happened, then they got deployed in the military, and then they got promoted, and they got trained in the military, and they knew the stuff. They just wanted to demonstrate that knowledge to a credible evaluator and get a degree to reflect the knowledge. And for those students, that's what we did. Because part of our responsibility as universities, as academic institutions, not only WGU, is to evaluate what individuals know, whether they learned that under our roof or website or online places or somewhere else. Either you know databases or you don't know it, whether you learn the databases by paying me or another colleague or another university, at the end of the day, I have to acknowledge whether you know or not. And that's what we have helped students do, and that's part of our mission. In terms of my college, we have 7 Bachelor of Information Technology, Bachelor of Science in Information Technology. We have the generalist degree, the BSIT, and then we have the six specializations. We have 1 Master Science degree already in Information Security and Assurance. And come March 2012, we're introducing an MSIT in networks. We're launching that program in a couple of months from now. That's what we offer now. That's what we're developing. And I want to assure you that slide was put together about a month ago when I started working on my presentation. And I felt so good today listening to other speakers talking about big data, analytics and big data, or open source systems or cloud engineering. It means, if it's only one of you that has an idea, that's a delusion. 2 of you is reality. 3 of you is society. I want to say cult, but let's stay with that. And suggestions are welcome. I think that considering how well we work with community colleges across the country, I think that any suggestions that come from community colleges about what do you want to see your students do to pursue further education after they complete their degrees with you, we're all ears. I'm all ears. I'm the contact point for that. I would love to hear what needs to be done. Yes, sir.
Before I forget, the MSSE and networking are coming. What Cisco certifications do you set out?
In a second. Well, actually, you know what? I won't be able to tell you that because it's on my presentation comments and I can't see them there, but I'll look it up on my computer when I'm done, if you don't mind. That's another thing that we're doing is that students earn certificates as they go as they move forward with their BS or MS degrees. And this is wonderful. In 2000, I struck a deal when I was at the University of Chicago. I struck a deal with Oracle. Students who were completing the database course with B+ or better, Oracle would allow them to sit a couple of their exams for free. It was a great deal for us. It was great advertisement for Oracle to put something, University of Chicago, blah, blah, blah there. And I thought it was a done deal. I thought that who would object to that? And then I figured out that the faculty senate had a few objections about, how they put it, I think, something about prostitution in the university or something. I'm not sure how they phrased it, but it was an uphill battle to convince them that allowing Oracle in the classroom after the students were done with the academic part of the course is not going to have any adverse effect on our reputation. And I was not challenging the fact that we may have had a reputation, but the fact that we might have been negotiating the price. So the issue there was that traditional university, at least one traditional university, was not ready to engage in partnerships with industry at that time that were beneficial to the students. There was this perception, and that's still the perception among many colleges, that the student who graduates from us with a bachelor's or a master's in computer science or computer engineering or information technology, they don't need to demonstrate anything else to their employer. If you have a Master of Science in computer science from Northwestern, employers will roll out the red carpet. Well, that's not quite the case, at least not in Chicago, where I've worked with employers who have hired students with zero college education simply because they could walk up on the whiteboard and solve the problem. You don't need to have a college degree to design a good database. All you need to understand is conceptual modeling. And conceptual modeling actually, I can spend the rest of my time and do a thorough job showing you how to do it. If you assuming that you don't know it, I think that most of you know how to do conceptual modeling. You may not know what it's called. This is very refreshing at WGU that students earn certification along the way, and also we managed to get, at least for some of those exams, some prize rating that helps students.
I used to say to me one of the particular valuable things about the Western Governors approach is that I think we see students who have a four-year degree, but unless they can really demonstrate their technical facility in some way with a certain certification, it can be difficult for them. And the other way around, a student can have a certification and yet an employment area still will really want to get in the door of a degree. So you have combined both of those, so they come out of there with their six-pack of certs or more, as well as the degree.
It works. That's true, and it's gratifying to hear that recognition from you and from our students as well about what we've done for them. I think that's part of what I'm going to step on my little soapbox here in a few minutes. I think that's part of the challenge we face as a education enterprise at large, is the fact that an increasing number of employers tend to look more at specific skills and ignore any formal credentials. For example, one entire industry that we care less about formal credentials is finance. A particular sector of financing, which is trading. Of course, they've done such a wonderful job with the economy in the last 3 years, 4 years maybe, that you may wonder that perhaps we can pay more attention to formal credentials. But when you're looking at option traders, derivative traders, commodity traders, for IT skills, all they want to know is, can you program the data? Can you make the data center work 24/7 with zero disruption? And they will offer technical challenges on their website that if you go into work, let's say, for Gecko, the global electronic trading company in Chicago, you can go to their very creative website and take a test, and if you do well, they're going to give you a call. They come in for an interview. Of course, if you're cheating on the test on the website, they'll know right away the moment you walk into their office for the interview. But assuming that that's not the case, and it's not the case with most people, that's how they make first contact. Down the road, if you have a university degree, that's great, but we're hiring you because you can do commodity trading really fast and make $20,000 an hour for us. The relevance of information technology education, in my opinion, is becoming less and less important in the workplace, and we need to reverse it, because otherwise we may not be here in a few years talking about information technology education. Another reason I'm making this presentation is because I need help from the community college community. I have a thing of it as a board of trustees, a board of advisors. We call it the Information Technology Program Council, and these are senior advisors to the university on emerging trends, workforce needs, competencies, community technologies. These are people that can advise us as to what we need to do next, what we should be focusing on, what we should be phasing out, best practices, not so good practices, and so on. And I really want to have community college representation in this council. I'm looking for senior faculty members or administrators who have been senior faculty members at community colleges and understand the interface between community colleges and four-year colleges as you handle students after they associate degrees as they're pursuing further their education. So nominations, recommendations, self-nominations are always welcome and appreciated. What we do with community colleges, we take a very refreshing approach. First of all, we do a couple of things. Partnerships. Partnership is nothing more than a simple memorandum of understanding between the university and the community college. We waive the application fee for students. We offer 5% discount and eligibility for community college scholarship that is exclusively reserved for students from community colleges. And these benefits also apply to faculty and staff of the community college that enters a partnership agreement with us. In exchange, we just expect that you have our literature in your transfer center and maybe a link to our website from your website when it comes to transfer options. I want to emphasize, and I'll come back to this in a second, that both myself personally and the university had tremendous respect for community colleges. When I was in Chicago, I worked with the City College of Chicago as an external academic advisor. I had tremendous respect for what community colleges are doing. As a graduate student in Colorado, I made some extra money by teaching at community college. So I really have a lot of admiration and respect and appreciation for community colleges, and so does Western Governors University. We're not taking students away from community colleges. We want your students, after you're done with that, after they have earned their associate degrees. We're not poaching students from community colleges, and we're not interested in doing that. We expect your students to come to us with an associate's degree.
What is your demographics right now? How many of you are transfer students? Say there are 30,000. How many countries?
I don't know. I can look that up. I will Google it. You were not here for the earlier presentation, were you? Okay. So sorry.
I had a question about the articulation agreement, and perhaps we'll need to talk offline about that, about the process of making sure that wherever the general education courses that our students take stay through an AS track, are then fully recognized as meeting all the general ed requirements for their DS?
That's a very good question. And there is a comment in my presentation notes there to say that we are very flexible and we work very closely with individual community colleges or districts to come up to do the articulation study and put together the translation tables and all that. What I'm told, I'm not the articulation agreement expert for the university, but what I'm told by those who are, is that often one particular subject of general education is a sore point. Any guesses? One particular topic, one particular course. No, I wish. Nothing. And especially with the AA degree. With the applied arts, with the associates in applied arts, we're working, we're trying to find ways, but usually we had, and I can provide you with sample articulation agreements with other colleges, how we've done the transfers. At the end, things work out well. Students will transfer 60 credits, and honestly, if we expect students to finish in it at your side. Mathematics, math, algebra is something that we have not yet found a one-size-fits-all solution, but I doubt that there is one such. So, but that's something that we're very upfront with, and we work very closely to we have a math center and a writing center to address for remediation. It's necessary, as you can imagine, but we were still looking for ideal solutions. Maybe again going back to the keynote, done is better than perfect. So as long as we do things on a college-by-college basis, we don't even have a formulaic solution. But I'll be happy to share with you a few agreements to see what we're doing about the colleges. Yes, ma'am. If you could wait, there was a...
Suppose somebody with an associate degree in California Community College transfers to your institution, and that college does not have an articulation agreement with you. How do you transfer the process?
We look at on a case-by-case basis. We look case-by-case.
That means there's no guarantee that 16 hours will be transferred.
Without an articulation agreement, there's no guarantee. Without the articulation agreement, we tell the students that up to 60 credits. But with the articulation agreement, we will transfer exactly what is the bottom line of that column on the articulation table. What we do, and a lot of our students from community colleges have found refreshing, is that we accept IT certifications toward credit. Because guess what? For some of our courses, that's how we award credit anyway. So students who have come to us from a community college with IT certifications, we take them, we count them toward credit, transfer credit as well. But if there is no articulation agreement with the college that the student comes from, we look at that on a case-by-case basis, and we work very closely with the student to maximize. Again, we're a not-for-profit university. Our mission and the philosophy of the university is to help adults complete that degree, get to the BS and maybe to the MS level. And we'll do anything in our power to help the student meet that goal while maintaining academic quality. So our objective is not to make money. There was a question there, and then yes.
Yeah, my question, I'm really interested, but I do have it. I'm a consultant for Career Matters Project, and a lot of the initiatives are around creating greater access to disadvantaged populations into career pathways through CTE. So I'm wondering, who are the students? Like, what are their ages? If you have demographics, ages, race.
I don't have very specific demographics. I can get that. You can get that online, I'm sure, and I'm embarrassed that I don't recall the details, but I have some very high-level information. Average age is 36. A lot of our students are first generation. A lot of our students are minority. A lot of our students are women. I think, in fact, I'm not sure, but I think that in my college, in College of Information Technology, I think most of our students are women. And I can get you, again, if you give me a business card or a contact point, I'll be more than happy to share very specific information. I think to some extent that information is available on iPads and other web databases out there, but I'll be happy to send you our latest report. I missed Campbell. Yes, sir?
You mentioned MOU. Is that same as articulation?
No. MOU is a low-hanging fruit. It will take about a couple of days to sign it all. We'll send you the literature material. We'll send one of our community college experts out to your campus to talk to your transfer group and educate or make a thorough presentation of WGU, and that's just about it. Articulation agreement is a little bit more involved, but we try to turn them around as fast as possible. And we start with the articulation study, and that's it.
And that the articulation agreement should add clarity to IT or IT related as far as what transfers.
Yes.
Example.
Yes. And again, what I can do can give you some.
What is the biggest problem that you're seeing in math? Is it like college algebra or something that's
lack of abstraction skills? I mean, y equals 4 equals 2 times x. Yes, sir.
So it seems to me that the quality proposition associated with your school or WGU is based pretty much on competencies.
Yes.
And I guess I'd like to know, I'd be real interested in, who comes up with the competencies, who oversees the evolution of competencies as the field changes rapidly. How do you ensure the quality of the assessment?
We pray a lot. But failure of prayer to deliver, we resort to our program councils. That's what I was advertising earlier. Each college has its own council of experts. We call it the program council. It has anywhere between 6 and 12 members. These are, for all intents and purposes, our senior faculty. Those councils comprise experts from the industry, from academia, from just about every constituency that is affected by information technology in my case. And they meet 3 or 4 times a year on site, whether in Salt Lake City or somewhere else. Geographically, it makes more sense to meet somewhere else. And they do curriculum evaluation, they look at new course proposals, they look at new program proposals, they develop new program proposals, they review the competencies. The competencies might come from the council itself, from subject matter experts that we hire to do exactly that, from industry specifications. For example, if you look at the NSA Center of Academic Excellence designations, there are some expectations about competencies that they want to see coming out of students in those endorsed programs. So we look at competencies from a variety of sources. The last source in that list of competency experts is us. We look outside for competencies and we take industry recommendations, best practices from other places, from other universities, from other colleges, and trade associations.
Do you have full-time faculty?
Yes, we have full-time faculty. These are the course leaders that are full-time faculty. Yes, these are the subject matter experts that are the faculty. The other way. Okay. Bob Rusted is the contact person for affiliation agreements. Again, I'll be happy to pass that information to you if you're interested. Now, I have about 6 minutes or 5 minutes left here, and I want to switch gears into how I see WGU and its role in ICT education at large. And in doing so, this is a call to arm. This is seeking to foster an alliance, because I truly believe that, and these are things that were discussed earlier in the keynotes today, that we lack a standard of ICT education model. Remember the keynotes, that example about 600 certification programs with 500 different names. As an employer, you're looking at this disparity across the landscape, and we don't really know what the Masters of Science in Information Technology means. On the other hand, you have an MBA, whether it's from Harvard, Wharton, or your regional state college, you know what an MBA represents. The difference between a Harvard MBA and a regional state college MBA is the price differential and the smoothness, maybe. I didn't say that, did I? We need to look at best practice at other professions about defining models of education. And I've done, again, because of marriage, I look at psychologists a lot. I spend a lot of time with I spend a lot of time with psychologists. It's an interesting profession. It's an interesting group of people. They analyze a lot of things. And one of the things that we analyzed was their own model of education. They started in 1949 in Boulder, Colorado. They revised that model in 1973 in Vail. For some reason, they like going up in Front Range in Colorado. And they thought, what does it mean to be a practitioner, a practicing psychologist? So they came to this model for a practitioner, a scholar practitioner that as a psychotherapist, a science practitioner. Early on, it was a science practitioner. The psychotherapist was also a producer of research. Think Freud, or in our discipline, think Alan Turing. He legitimized information technology among the hard sciences, mathematics, physics, chemistry, because he produced research. That was back in the 40s. Now, in the 70s, if you look in our field again, we have the practitioner scholar. This is a practitioner who's not necessarily producing research, but consuming research in a very innovative and very inventive way. Think Wim Cerf. Wim Cerf did not create new knowledge in the academic sense, but synthesized a lot of great ideas into something that no one else could have done, and that was TCP/IP. So, what do we want our students to be when they graduate from our programs, whether it's an AES or a BS or an MS? Do we want them to be engaged professionals? Do we want them to be professionals with analytical skills, with synthetic skills, who not only can consume research, but apply that knowledge into critical problem solving? And if that's the model of education we want to achieve, how do we design our curriculum? How do we design our programs? How do we normalize, standardize our nomenclature? So your MSIT, same as my MSIT, no matter where I am teaching, where I'm teaching, I'm a private or a public university, I have 10,000 faculty or 1,000 faculty. We need to look at those issues. We need to mend fences with industry. There is an annoying mistrust between academia and industry in information technology. They look at us as academics. We look at them as, I don't know what, car mechanics. It's this this has to go. So what can be done? We have to look at curriculum guidelines. We have to look at efforts that started by HCN and IEEE. They're very computer science oriented. They're very four-year college oriented. But it's a start. We need to improve on them. We need to look at defining a standard model of education like lawyers have done, doctors have done, clinical psychologists have done. And we need to start thinking about programmatic accreditation, not to bring legitimacy to our field in the same way that doctors and lawyers bring legitimacy to their field. And also, because regional accreditation is not going to last forever in the sense that it's a model of the 19th century, maybe 20th century actually, and it does not serve the purpose in the 21st century when education is challenged by technology, globalization, or heavy. We need to create our own programmatic accreditation like psychologists have APA and whatnot. Yes, ma'am.
There is actually accreditation for IT. Under the Association for Computer Machinery, there is a four-year model curriculum and accreditation for IT programs.
There is a curriculum model, that's what I said by HCM IEEE, but there's no accreditation. The accreditation comes from ABET.
Well, but it's for IT.
Right.
Right.
But have you looked at the, first of all, at the rate of adaptation of ABET, how many colleges are going ABET? When I talk to other teams about ABET accreditation...
Well, the IT just was created like 2 years ago.
Right.
The
reluctance is not that. The reluctance is that I believe that what I've heard about the reluctance is that the last thing we need is another self-study. That's what I hear from things like when we talk about programmatic accreditation, the last thing they want to hear is another self-study. So,
well, what would you consider to be appropriate for determining accreditation? Do you want someone to come in and say boom, 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 and rate you? I mean, I think that as we teach our students to be much more effective at being able to be self-learners and self-assessors and stuff like that, I would think that that's what we're encouraging the schools to do. Now, again, it depends on how you approach a self-study, because a self-study, could in fact be extremely beneficial if you approach it correctly. And most schools that I've talked with that have taken it seriously have found it to be a very valuable model. So again, I mean, there's a whole bunch of different but when you use accreditation, I guess I'm not sure of other types of accreditation that you would be referring to. That's why I was.
No, it's a very good question. I mean that if you look at APA accreditation, no student in the right mind would think of pursuing a degree in psychology from a program that is not APA accredited. That's not the case with IB. On top of that, engineering deans have a very bad experience with ABET self-studies, not for IB. But so ABET is the same, they have to go back to the same group for yet another programmatic accreditation. They went through fire and brimstones to get their EE or the CE or the ME programs approved, and now they have to go back to the same organization to get another programmatic accreditation. My sense from what I hear is that ABET has not made things easy for programmatic accreditation. The issue is the agency.
Well, I haven't heard that in computing and IT, at least the ones I'm familiar with, because I've actually worked a lot with them and actually helped work the four-year model curriculum, and we've actually created a 2-year model curriculum as well.
That's encouraging to hear.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm just, as I said, I was just a little bit but again, the one thing that is extremely important is that IT is not the same as ICT. So it does not have the communications end of the IT at all.
I think when I talk about IT, I'm from Europe. IT is IT. Yeah. And I really like what the Mid-Pacific Center is doing to their initiative change. We're talking earlier today about calling what it is, IT. So,
well, it really doesn't come into the communication side of it at all. That's all that makes it come.
Right. But that's part of another problem that we have kind of credentialing of the communication part of ICT to the industry.
And it's mostly actually done in engineering. At least that's what my understanding is that the most of the communications piece has fallen into the engineering side as opposed to the computing side. But again,
Good point. That's a good remark. So that was my last slide. Any more questions? We have a few more minutes. I'm done, so it's only.
Just a quick piece of information. Your question is really good, and an implication from there is one that we hear a lot about online education. Who's taking the test? One of the things about Western governors is they have pioneered two-factor